where do you live?
Oh, yeah, I'm in Atlanta,
Atlanta? Oh, okay,
uh,
cool. Yeah, we play
and
Atlanta
you're in North Carolina, right?
in Chapel Hill. Yep.
Awesome, yeah, yeah. So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another awesome episode. I'm here with Mr. Django Haskins from The Old Ceremony, which is this super cool pop noir kind of just this really fun and I would say kind of emotionally expressive band, right? Like we said outside of Chapel Hill. It's great to have you on. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Yeah, just got kind of on a high. Still, we had a big local record release show. We've been doing shows for our new record
Uh,
in other cities, but this was the kind of culmination on Saturday, and it was also our 20-year anniversary as a band. So it was this big kind of celebration. So it's I'm exhausted, but really very happy.
awesome. Where did you play?
Cat's Cradle, which is kind of our.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's a really cool venue. And you said you've actually played Atlanta?
Oh yeah, we play Atlanta a lot. Yeah,
Where did you
Smith
play?
Old Bar, the Earl, the gosh, there's so. I mean, we've probably played 20 times in Atlanta. We played a bunch of festivals in Atlanta. Yeah, yeah, we love it. I love Atlanta actually.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love North Carolina. All the Carolinas are awesome. And it's very nice to hear that you actually hit Atlanta because a lot of
Oh
bands
yeah.
will tend to skip out and go to Tennessee, which
Uh-huh.
we need love for both, you know?
We do
Can't
both. Yeah.
choose. It's really
Uh-huh.
unfair for one or the other. But yeah, congratulations on the new record, which is
Thank you.
pretty fantastic.
Thank you.
Would you mind running us through some of the writing process for that?
Sure. Yeah. So, I do all the songwriting for the old ceremony, and I have solo projects as well. So I'm always writing for one thing or another, and often I don't really know what project it's going to end up being for. That my main outlet is either solo or the old ceremony. Um, and so during the pandemic, I was getting together with friends on Zoom, people all over the country, but all of us were kind of former residents of New York who played music up there in the 90s, really. And we had a songwriting meeting every Monday night, and everyone had to bring a new song that every Monday, and we would put up the lyric afterwards and get 5 minutes of feedback, and that was it. And then the next song, and we did it every week. So I ended up writing, as a part of that meeting, I wrote 115 new songs of all types, as you can imagine. If you write that many songs in that period of time, it's going to
Yeah,
be a little bit of everything or a lot of everything. And so, kind of coming from those, I put out a solo record called Lost World this past year, which was all piano based stuff that I had pulled from it and kind of an impressionistic stuff. And then all of these songs to the old ceremony record were from that pile as well. And we went through 30 or more new songs and tried them out, and would try them in shows, and we were playing out, and just kind of whittled it down, and then ended up recording 13, and then we released the record with 11, and the other two will be kind of later, we'll release as bonus tracks or something.
that's so cool. Yeah, I love that. That idea to have a songwriting class is very, very smart. Kind of reminds me of Fight Club with all the different clubs to coke.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah, we
not
don't talk
as
about
crazy.
songwriting club. No,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's peers, so that's really nice because you have. For me, I know that having a deadline or having some sort of time when I know I need to have a new song makes me write it. Otherwise, I get kind of lazy and I might not write for a month or two.
Mhm.
Uh, and also having sharp people who also write songs who are going to catch your fudging on a line or whatever, and so you have to kind of fix it in advance, and so it makes it
Mhm.
for better writing, I think.
For sure. And it's really fun when when your friends are super picky in like a fun way.
Hmm.
I think it adds to the experience and kind of forces you to do better. It's
Yeah.
like when you're in front of like executives or managers, that's scary. But when you're in front of your friends,
Yeah.
they're kind of just poking fun, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. They don't know anything. Managers and executives don't know anything. I mean, I've been around long enough to know that. So yeah, but yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, and it's the same with my interviews, honestly, because if I don't have a schedule and if I don't plan these out in
Hmm.
advance, it
Hmm.
doesn't happen. Like
Yeah.
there's a couple bands that like it's usually like in person stuff I'd like to do because I get to
Uh-huh.
go to shows.
Oh
But
yeah.
sometimes, like it's kind of a drag to schedule stuff. But once you do it, you feel good about it, man. It feels great.
Yeah, exactly.
And what do you do when you're not writing? I see a very cool book collection behind you.
Oh yeah, well I do a lot of reading. I teach. I teach music.
Oh,
I've got private students in here in my studio. In fact, after we're done, I got a couple students coming in tonight. I teach guitar and bass and voice and songwriting and theory and all kinds of stuff. And I really like it, man. I've done it for. I've probably been teaching for 30 years. But but yeah, I like it. I teach adults for the most part. I don't, I've got my own kids. I don't really want to deal with anybody else's kids.
yeah.
But yeah, it's fun, and I discover new music that way all the time, and new things about old music. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. What have been some of your favorite new discoveries? I'm kind of interested.
Gosh, that's a great question. I've got certain students who'll bring in like really far out stuff, like kind of city pop, like Japanese jazz stuff, or like some really obscure, like kind of Norwegian metal. I mean, like stuff I would never seek out myself. But it's cool. One thing that's really hit me is even stuff that I don't really like. There's always something to learn from it, and I think that's like a lesson that I've learned from teaching. If I'm open-minded about it, even if I just really kind of hate the thing that someone, I mean, usually I'm picking the songs, but if someone is like, "Hey, I really want to learn this," and we'll do it, even if I'm like, "Oh God, really that?" But there's always some little thing about it where I'm like, "That's pretty cool," and I think that kind of keeping an open mind is something that's coming to me later in life.
No, that's totally the way to go, especially with listening to, I think, new music. So many
Yeah,
people are like so close-minded about it and want to stay in their bubble, which I totally get because that's kind of your
I get that too.
instinct.
Yeah, it's like
But
Bill Evans or Bill Evans. Yeah, yeah.
but I mean the whole fun of it is kind of try out new bands and weird bands. I think that's how I've gotten into this like weird, like right now I've been on a hardcore grind.
Oh yeah.
I've been listening to so much hardcore and a lot of jam bands for some reason. Like the two polar opposites, honestly.
Yeah, totally.
But
Yeah.
it's always changing. And like a couple months back, it was like only stoner rock.
Uh-huh.
Before that, it was city pop, like
Uh-huh.
Japanese city
Oh,
pop.
yeah.
So it's
Mhm.
always kind of evolving and
Yeah.
finding like the whole reason I got into hardcore is because I really liked the melodic parts of this band called Have Heart, which is they're out of
Uh-huh.
Boston, and I really liked the melodic kind of singing sections. And then you find that in local bands, and then
Uh-huh.
that you get to
Yeah.
go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
awesome.
exactly. Yeah, right.
And I'm looking at your guitars, and I see some unconventional. I think I see an Eastwood guitar back there.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
What's your favorite guitar like acquisition story?
I'm not a guitar I'm not a gear guy. Like the reason there are so many guitars up there is they're all different. Like there's a high strung, a banjo, a baritone, a 12 string, and a bass. So I want to have access to the different type, and then I got my SG, that saxophone guitar. I just want to have one of whatever it is. And there's a lap steel there.
Oh, awesome.
There's some drums over here as an island string, but I'm not a collector or anything, and I don't really care. A lot of them are really cheap. Honestly, they're Squires or whatever. Because to me, if it sounds like reasonably good, then I can make it sound good. I really think a lot of it is in much more of it is in playing than in electronics. Yeah, I mean, my favorite guitar probably, and I don't have it out, but was my dad's. And his acquisition story for it is he got it from a pawn shop in San Francisco in the late 60s. And it's from maybe 50s or early 60s. It's a Gibson, kind of thin line, electric with a single
Ooh.
pickup. It's really beautiful. And I discovered my love for guitar by finding his guitar in storage in our house and pulling it out and going, "What's this?" And that was it. I was 13 and that I've been playing ever since. So, and he eventually let me kind of have it for a while without ever really wanting it back. So that's my prized one if I have one.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I mean, whenever your dad, just I feel like dads always have something extra, like dad lore as you get
Uh,
older to kind of surprise you with and to keep
uh,
things interesting.
yeah,
Like
we try.
I know it's so much fun. I'm trying to build that up, with hopefully
Yeah,
these interviews and these shows
yeah,
getting to say that You know, like I got punched in the face at this and
Yeah,
met
sure.
this guy,
Yeah,
like I
right.
can tell my son randomly whenever he's 14 and blows mind.
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
goal, you
Exactly.
know?
Yeah.
And I love that you're not like a gearheaded because I think a lot of people will get into that mentality of it's all about the gear. And
Yeah.
it's fun it's like fun, but I mean, I
Yeah.
think it really is in the fingers. It really
Oh
is in
yeah.
like your soul and how you
Yeah.
do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Some of the best players I've seen play on, very just whatever instrument. It doesn't matter. They just pick it up and it sounds like them.
Oh yeah.
And so you gotta, that's where it comes from
I
for
think my
sure.
favorite example of that is Joshua Homme, because I think he's the first guitarist that I heard that tone and I was like, God damn, like that is impressively nasty and so
Uh-huh.
unique. And then look it up, and he's playing this crappy, $25 PV amp that you got at the thrift
Yeah.
store.
Right.
Like it
Yeah.
makes it so much better. And I think it makes it achievable whenever you're
Yeah.
getting great sounds out of your guitar for your listeners to be like, well, maybe I can do that. I don't need like
Yeah.
a Klon. I don't
Right.
need a
Yeah.
Dunnable amp. I don't need any of that like,
Right.
$300,000 stuff. I can just
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
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 I
For sure.
absolutely love that. Yeah. And I'm looking at all these bands you played with. I mean, you played with Cake, you've played with I have the thing right here, Mountain
Yeah.
Goats, Chuck Berry, Jayhawks. Like that's a pretty awesome like
Yeah.
catalog.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
from like touring with them or like
Yeah.
that's sick?
Well, Mountain Goats we know because they're here, and we played with them in Raleigh, I think. But yeah, Cake we toured with. Chuck Berry we played a show with him. Let's see, Jayhawks we toured with, and we have a real close connection because I also opened for them solo, and I have a duo with the leader of the Jayhawks, Gary Loris, called Au Pair. So we we're buddies. Yeah, I mean, if you're out there long enough and working on it, and I think you just kind of eventually run across people. I mean, there aren't that many people. I mean, there are lots of bands, of course, but
Mhm.
like at a certain kind of a certain level, and we were not at any kind of level of fame or anything, but we were touring at like reasonable clubs for a really long time, and sooner or later things kind of happen. Hopefully, where you get to play with different types of people. But yeah, yeah, it's fun. And if you look at all those bands next to each other, they really don't have a
No.
lot in common. I mean, the Squirrel Nut Zippers and Chuck Berry and Cake, and it's like, how does that? But that's. I mean, when it comes down to it, I think the surprising thing is that like there's not that much difference, honestly. Even though the music can sound a lot different, when it comes down to it, you're playing music.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And you are the common factor, It's fun to say that you
Yeah.
tie all these people together in that universe, which is
Right. Right.
super cool. I'll
Yeah.
tell you my Cake story.
Oh,
Because they
cool.
played Atlanta on a Friday during break, and it couldn't have been any better. And I was working with their publicist, and he was like, "We can probably, do something in
Uh-huh.
person." And I was so pumped. And then my mom tells me that she has a pediatric conference in
Oh.
Florida the
Oh.
weekend of.
Oh no.
So I was heartbroken. But the good news is that, well, bad news is the hurricane came, and
Oh yeah.
a lot of shows got canceled. But um, two King Crimson members, and then Steve Vai and Danny Carey from Tool decided to like basically play King Crimson stuff and tour it. And they were
Yeah.
playing Orlando that same day.
Oh wow.
And so I got tickets for $2, and I know their drum tech. So I got to like,
Uh-huh.
finally meet him for the first time after talking to him for a while and get to like
Uh-huh.
shake his hand and whatever. And so it ended up being a really great night, So I still did not get to interview Cake
Ah.
one day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There.
good
He's
surprise.
John is a really interesting dude. I remember late one night in a motel bar in Iowa, him coming in and hanging with us and talking about ethanol subsidies for like a really long time. That was pretty much what we talked about.
That's great. And I think honestly, I'm not that surprised because, they
Yeah.
always give a tree at their show to the one lucky,
Oh yeah. Hmm.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not surprised at all. He seems like an ethanol lover kind of guy.
Yeah, yeah. I don't really remember how he fell on the spectrum, the ethanol spectrum, but yeah.
I love that. Are there any kind of crazy tour stories you've had with, I mean, all
Yes.
these crazy bands?
Well, yes. I mean, the Chuck Berry thing was insane because he, invented rock and roll essentially. But a lot of our careers, like even actually just a couple weeks ago, we played New York and DC, and our van, uh, our van started having problems on the way to DC, and like with the brakes, and it was scary. And we got to the gig, and we played the gig, and 6 in the morning, we were up looking for a mechanic in DC. We got someone to fix the brake situation, drove to New York, coming out of the Holland Tunnel, a different problem. The van just turns off in traffic, Manhattan, rush hour, and in the middle, like just coming out of the Holland Tunnel onto Canal Street, and then we turn it back on, and it goes a block, and as soon as we're not moving, it turns off again. And it happened, and we're just like, okay, what are we we don't know what this is. So we like back into like a blind alley in Chinatown, and we're like trying to figure out what to do, and we got to get across town to our gig. And so it was like stuff like that. And then we eventually, long story short, made it to the gig, and made it to where we were staying in Brooklyn, but like dying all the way. And again, we were in another mechanic's in Brooklyn the next morning for 4 hours while they fixed it. It was just that kind of stuff happens so much. When you're touring, or even a little bit, like we're not touring as much as we usually used to do, and still just like it's can be pretty punishing at any level, but especially at a level of a normal kind of
Yeah.
touring band. Yeah.
It's so scary how many bands have bus problems. Like if some car company made a van they could like actually not break down, imagine how much money they'd make off of touring musicians alone.
Yeah, it's true.
Like I feel like it happens every other week. Like it ends up not being a tour and just being like how many mechanics can we see in the span of a week? Kind of thing,
Totally. Yeah. That was our plan.
Like, that is absolutely scary. And like I feel like that and visas are like the worst.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. We used to play Canada a lot,
setbacks.
and that was always, yeah, that was actually, in fact, we had a situation going into Canada the first time where I don't remember what it was. Like maybe we didn't think we needed a visa. We were told we didn't, but we did, or something. And oh no, it was because we were playing. They decided that we needed a different kind of visa, and they were like, "Well, you can go into Montreal and Toronto, but you can't play. And if we find out you did, we're gonna come arrest you. And we were like, okay, we'll just go to Montreal, and we kind of played, and then like got out of there as quickly as we could. I mean, but it was just like really stressful.
Yeah. I can imagine getting hunted down for playing a show seems kind of
Yeah, like with a guy on a moose.
Did you have like no cameras? Like making sure scouring, no one gets any footage.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was within the time of everyone having cell phones, but not like the time where with people had chips implanted. So it's it was less of an issue.
Yeah. I mean, that is like those stories make stuff like this. Like it gives substance, but at the same time, I mean, you probably were sweating bullets when you're
Oh yeah,
banned. But
they're funny later. They're fun later. It's like war stories or something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And so now, right? What you plan for the future? What's the future of the Old Ceremony?
Well, so we're just kind of coming out. We got a few more shows lined up right now in the region, and then I think and that's still with our new record Earthbound, and probably we'll be doing that for a little while with those kinds of shows, just club shows and things like that. And then and I think we'll just get back and start working on the next record. Honestly, we've got the material, and we're kind of really energized from all the stuff we've been doing. It's interesting. The show that we played on Saturday at the Cradle, we've played the Cradle forever. The band's been together for 20 years, and we've probably played the Cradle for 18 years. But they have a big space, which is like 750 capacity, and then they have a smaller space, which is like 200 capacity. And, when we were like coming up and getting kind of big locally and regionally, we would fill the big space, and it was great, but then, as time went on and, people started having kids, and, the things happened that just made it harder to fill it, we would end up going, well, we'll just do the back room and kind of sell it out, and that'll be great. So we've been doing that for quite a long time. So this was our first kind of headlining the main room, and we really put a lot into it, and it came out great. But I was talking about it with somebody just today, and it was so much better this time around because at the time when we were really on fire at the new thing, uh, kind of took it for granted. It was like, yeah, of course there are, 500 people here. It's like, yeah, we're this band and we're doing this great stuff. And this time it was like, oh, I see. This isn't guaranteed. This is like a huge privilege to be able to play for a lot of people who know your songs and who want to hear it with a good sound. And like all of this, like I don't know, I can speak for everybody, but I certainly, and I think all of us really were like, really appreciating it in a new way. It's almost like if you went back to college in your 40s and you're like, this is awesome. Like you're taking every class and you're doing all the homework because you're like, you can't believe you get to do this. Like I wasted like 2/3 of my college just being an idiot. So it's like that, it's like getting a chance to kind of go back with new eyes. And I really feel very grateful to have that
Yeah.
chance.
Especially because there's so many bands that I think are sadly stuck in the bar, playing bars, playing 50-person shows, playing 100-person shows, where like the fan base is so stuck together. So it's a good thing, right? Because then they have like loyal fans. But at the same time, not
Yeah.
getting that recognition they deserve. I think one of those bands is definitely Earth,
Uh-huh.
and then there's plenty of, I mean, like Howard's collection of bands that he does publicity for are all just really underappreciated and
Yeah.
awesome bands. And it's so scary that some of the most incredible musicians I've talked to are doing like living room tours, which are,
Yeah. Sure.
I know some
Actually,
people,
to be honest, I love living rooms.
you love them?
I love them. They're the best for solo acoustic. It's the
Uh,
best. It's the best. They're clean bathrooms. You get paid like 10 times as much as you would at a club. Everyone's listening. It's just amazing. So yeah, don't
I
knock
mean,
living rooms, buddy.
oh no, I definitely want to go. I want to go to a living room show because Hum's Matt Talbot does
Uh-huh.
occasional living room shows
Oh,
when
cool.
he could definitely be selling out like, pretty
Hmm.
mid-sized venues.
Hmm.
And he does these shows and like he hasn't come to Atlanta yet, but something, I
My,
mean, it's definitely really cool. And I want to go to like a house party. Like there's so many
yeah.
things I want to discover, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, yeah. My friend Tim Ratilli, who's the leader of Caliphone, which is this great band out of LA, they do living room tours like all the time. That's like kind of how they're doing it. And I mean, they love it. And it's not that they can't get club gigs, but they just know how much nicer it is.
Well, maybe that's the way to go, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I think it might be the future, to be honest. Cut out Ticketmaster entirely and just, go
That
straight
would
to
be
people.
great. And
Yeah.
Ticketmaster sucks, man, because like
Yeah. Yeah.
it blocks so many people from getting tickets to shows because then you pay for like, it's just $20 for a ticket and you
Right.
go and it's double the price.
Well, that's the thing, man. I mean, if you can charge $30 and it all goes to the artist, I mean, rather than $70 and $30 goes to the artist,
Yeah.
like why wouldn't you do that? Everyone wins. So yeah,
And there's so many fees and everything. And
yeah,
you don't really see that in a lot of these Ticketmaster venues. It's pretty
yeah.
bad experiences. I mean,
It's not
like,
the venue's fault though. I mean,
no, of course not.
it's just like this monopoly. But yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, it's corporate, man. It sucks. I hate it. I
Yeah,
absolutely hate it. We need like a revolution. And
yeah.
living rooms
In
is the way
many
to go.
ways. Hmm.
I
Maybe
think
so.
so.
Yeah.
In Atlanta, we have this company that owns like three really awesome venues around town. One of them being the Variety Playhouse, which is
Oh
like
yeah,
our mid-sized venue that I
yeah.
go like to a bunch of shows there.
Hmm.
And that like whenever you know management and like you see the same people around and it's not like I love that. I love the
Yeah,
and even those like Live Nation venues, like it's always nice seeing like the
yeah.
grandmas or whatever, but
Hmm.
it kind of
Yeah, we played
sucks.
Eddie's Attic a few times.
Eddie's
That's
Attic is awesome,
yeah,
yeah. I've got a
yeah,
friend that played Eddie's Attic a couple months back, which is super,
yeah,
it's pretty big for him.
yeah, yeah. It's a great place. Yeah.
And how's the scene for emerging artists in
Chapel Hill.
Chapel Hill?
It's great, and it's just a great scene. It's there are so many. I mean, there's so many that I can't even keep track, honestly. But yeah, there's just like generations of bands here, and it's a really pretty supportive atmosphere. I got here. I moved here 22 years ago. I'd been living in New York and playing, and I moved down here, and and now I'm like, an old guy in the scene. I mean, there are guys who have been here 20 years longer than me who are still also rocking, but like, but it's interesting. And so now, yeah, there's like a whole new crop of bands all the time, and they're great. Like, there's a label you should check out called Sleepy Cat Records, and they have really good stuff on it. Some of which is bound to blow up. It's really, really good. Kind of folk-ish stuff, but really, I mean, like very kind of modern and current sounding. But yeah, there's so much. There's so much of it around here, and that's one of the reasons I moved here in the first place, and I really love it.
It's kind of scary when you have that realization that there are so many incredible bands that like are on that verge of blowing up that you didn't even know about. Like I had this realization a couple days ago when I was exploring like the kind of smaller scene, like the underground scene,
Hmm.
in Atlanta. And it's so crazy. And I think I was first exposed to this in LA. Like I've never been to LA, but
Uh-huh.
like the scene there with the psych bands like Hoover
Sure.
3 and Levitation Room and all these bands that are playing like kind of small shows, but still pretty big.
Yeah.
And it's like they're on the verge of making it, like they're
Hmm.
making it like more making it and like
Yeah.
doing these massive shows.
Yeah.
I think it's so cool. It's so cool to watch these bands on the progress and be like, I knew the whole ceremony when they
Yeah.
were playing a 50-person, cap room
Sure.
and it was like
Yeah.
packed. That
Yeah.
is something really special, I think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It is. I mean, I've been, I've had a number of friends who have like made it, like, who, some of whom I'm still close with and some I'm not, but like, who were either hadn't really gotten much going on when I first met them or were just starting, Annie for St. Vincent
St. Vincent is coming to
yeah.
Atlanta, and I'm gonna try to secure an interview
She's
because
great. She's great. And I haven't talked to her since she got massive. But when she was getting massive, I was talking to her and I'm like, "Oh, how is this going?" She's like, "It's so great. It's so weird. People are coming to our shows." But yeah, and like my old bandmate Byron is the bass player in the Lumineers and he's been in it for like 7 years
uh-huh.
and seeing that level of touring up close is really eye-opening. I've never seen that kind of, I mean, like, arena touring
Yeah.
that at that close range. So it's interesting. What for me, I when you ask like what's up for us in the future, I mean, really, what's up for us is we're going to keep making music and like playing, because honestly, anything beyond that is fine. But like, I think our perspective is really just to like focus on what we really care about, which is the music. And we know that the music industry is just like it's kind of gutted and also was also always terrible anyway. And we'll work with whatever we're working with, label or whatever distribution wise. But I think I'd like to put less time and energy into that stuff and just make music because I've seen the top levels of
Uh,
what's possible, and that's not a lifestyle that that would kill me. I don't want to do it, because I've got kids, and I don't want to spend 2 years at a time on the
yeah.
road. Like I don't care
It's
what.
scary.
I don't care how many people are cheering for you. So, for me, the ideal is to get the music out to get the music out to as many people as possible, and keep performing live because we love playing live.
Mhm.
But I think the goal is really the music itself, and let the rest kind of take care of itself. And I think it has worked out to be a little bit of a less crazy making
Uh,
mindset.
no, it's definitely a great
As a
philosophy.
lifetime musician, yeah.
Uh-huh. And I think I've also like had my first big experience at a arena show being Mastodon when I interviewed their drummer Braun and he let me go to the show and like it is crazy how big of a how
Yeah.
massive of a just whole operation that is and
Production,
like
yeah, yeah,
having to go backstage is the first time that it was like really a pain in the butt. Like you have to go
yeah,
through like layers of security and everyone does not believe that you are friends with them and
yeah,
like no one trusts you at all. And
yeah,
that's completely different from like my local venues where like they don't really
yeah.
give a shit if you make it
No,
backstage
yeah,
or not.
yeah, yeah. They're back there. Yeah,
Yeah, because they know you're
totally.
not going to do anything. And then
Yeah.
tomorrow, actually, I'm very excited because I'll be interviewing King Gizzard at their
Oh,
sold
cool.
out Fox show, which I think you guys have a lot in common because their
Yeah,
new
yeah. I
record
like
is
them. I like them.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm pumped, but I'm also kind of like scared because
Are there like 12 of them? Aren't there like a lot of them in the band?
yeah, I think there's like
Okay.
7 or 6.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, well, it's even like, OC's had 2 drummers, or they still have 2 drummers, and that's like they have like six
Oh
people
yeah.
on stage, and it's like rocks your socks off.
Yeah, yeah,
That was a
total.
really fun show.
The OCs, yeah.
Man,
Yeah, I
don't even
remember
get
when
me
they came
started on
out.
them. They're
Yeah,
so
yeah.
cool. And but with these bigger venues, it is just it's scary. And the
Yeah,
Lumineers, I mean, they
they're big.
exploded.
Yeah, they're
Like
massive.
they headlined Shaky Knees, I think, a year ago. And my
Yeah,
friend wanted to go, and I was just like, the Lumineers? Like,
yeah,
wait, last I've heard, they're like this kind of theater band. And then you
yeah,
look them up,
no,
and it's like they have like
no, no,
50
no.
million listeners on Spotify.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Like,
like, yeah, yeah. They have songs that are like, a billion plays. Like,
which
I
is
mean, it's crazy. I
crazy.
don't even know what that means. Like, we're like, great, a
It's
hundred
like one
thousand.
eighth of
That's
the
awesome.
population.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah,
scary.
yeah. That's wild. I mean, it's just all. That's the thing, man. It's like really easy to get down into that place where you're like looking at the stuff. You're going, oh man, you can't control any of it, man. So
Yeah.
like just make as good music as you can, be a good person, and it's gonna be fine. And if it, and what happens in this other stuff has nothing to do with it. That's not the thing. Because if you're in music to be successful, like, I've had decades of trying to be successful in music, but like, if you're in it to be successful, like, you should just be in some other industry, man. Like, just be a whatever, I don't consult it. I don't know what people do for money, but like there are lots of easier ways and surer ways to make money than being a successful musician, even a successful one. So like recognize why you came here. And I think the reason we came here is because we love music. And so we're going to do
Exactly.
music and then, like figure out how to live. And luckily we've all been this band, our band's been together for 20 years, which is a long time when you're not making a lot of money. And, because like if you're making a lot of money, you could stay together even if you hate it. But we love it and we're not making a lot of money. So the fact that we're doing it is a testament to something, stubbornness probably. But I mean that, and so we really focus on what we care about, which is music. Really, we're not in it for the business side.
And that's the way to go. It's the same with my interviews, because I mean, I'm doing like 8 interviews in the next week. I try to do
Wow,
as many as I can. I did 3 last Sunday.
wow,
Um,
that's
and I
amazing.
don't make jack from this,
No, of course, yeah,
like I'm not getting paid at all, even though hopefully mid next year I'll start getting paid, which is pretty exciting. But,
that's awesome.
um, I don't get paid, and the shows I get to go to are like, a couple of shows a year, which is still
Hmm.
awesome. But it's not like I'm not like in the know that much yet. And
Right?
it's just so much fun talking to like people like you.
Yeah, man.
It's like a great like I was tired getting home from the bus and I wanted to take a nap, and then this is kind of like energizing and invigorating.
Excellent.
I'm gonna go
Yeah,
right
man.
after this. Like,
That's awesome. I love that. Well, I mean, you've got a great curiosity, and that makes it all the difference for interviewing.
appreciate it. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the whole reason they got started, because I saw this like kid maybe half my age interviewing Queens of the Stone Age, and I got super jealous, and I was like, dude, this is like if he can do it, there's no reason
Yes,
why I can't do it.
there
And
you
that's like
go.
that's a mentality I think all people that like music and maybe are slightly interested should do, because if
Yeah.
you like it and you can find people that like it with you,
Hmm.
then I mean you
Yeah.
got it. That's kind
Yeah.
of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy to think where this has gone. Same with, I mean, I'm sure with your journey, it's like you look back and you're like, your journey is much longer than mine. I mean, I
Sure.
started in January and I look back and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy to think that
Yeah.
in the span of 4 months, I got to interview Dinosaur Jr.
That's awesome.
Like,
Yeah.
that's psycho. I don't know. It's like I
Yeah.
can't wrap my head around that. And this year's gone by so fast. Um,
That's great, man. You just got to keep doing it.
I can't stop.
That's great.
you know? And I think it's the same with, I hope it's the same with the old ceremony where
Yeah. We're not
there's
going to
no end
stop.
in sight. Yeah.
No.
So
No.
I'm definitely going to be at the next Atlanta show.
Exactly. Actually, that's awesome. Yeah. We'll be through. For sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. Well, I had an absolute pleasure. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you. Trying to think of the verbiage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. A pleasure blast. It was a
yeah,
blast of pleasure. Yeah. Me
exactly.
too, man. Same here. Really
That's the
great.
new slogan for the band.
It's a blast of pleasure. Ba-da-da. Yeah.
But it has been great speaking to you.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Jay.
Awesome. Really down to earth, and I think you really humanized it, which I really appreciate.
Sure.
I need to make it to Man, I haven't been to North Carolina in
Yeah,
so
come on down,
long.
man. It's great.
Now I'm
Chapel
in,
Hill is happening.
yeah, I'm in that age where, I have to start looking around at colleges and stuff. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
we got a lot of them. We got
yeah,
UNC Chapel Hill, we got Duke, we got NC State,
my
all right
cousin
here.
is actually at Chapel Hill, so I think I need to
There you go.
slide on by.
Well, drop me a line when you do, man.
Of course, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
been awesome speaking to you. I hope you have
All
a great
right. It's
day.
great to talk to you.
And
Thank you.
I'll see you whenever you come to Atlanta, man.
Sounds great. We'll see you.